Hello, and welcome to the Intro to Student Organizations training. My name is Courtney Laukitis. I am the Program Manager to Student Organizations in the Office for Student Involvement and Leadership. This training is provided both in person and online. So if you are choosing this online option, it is perfectly acceptable. It is a requirement for the SORT training and is required to be completed by the president and the treasurer of every student organization. It is also provided to the vice presidents and the secretaries if that position is applicable to your student organization officer list. If not, totally fine. It's not a requirement for the vice presidents and the secretaries to complete, but it definitely is a requirement for the presidents and the treasurers to complete. Some housekeeping items to go over. In this presentation, you will follow along with your Engage form. That form will have some questions for you that you'll follow along in the presentation while you're watching or listening. And that will count for your attendance once you click submit so that you can, meet your requirements for obtaining the active status. Again, you can watch or listen to the presentation. It's totally up to your learning style. I say literally everything that is on the page in front of me. So if you are more of a visual learner like myself, you can watch it, or if you would like to be an audio learner and just kind of listen along while you fill out your questions, that's also totally acceptable. This entire training is just the overview of what you're going to learn about. It's just a quick way to say hello and just an intro to the SORT program, some of the changes that we're making, all that good stuff. If there is a title page or you hear a title called out, you can go ahead and move on to the next page once you have completed those questions on your Engage form. And then because this is a pre-recorded training, you can pause, stop, start, rewind, fast forward, all that good stuff. If you need to go back to something or move ahead to something, you can start and stop your form on Engage at any time as well. Just be sure to submit everything by each due date, and all those due dates and requirements are listed in the description box of this video on YouTube. So let's go ahead and get started. So overview, we're going to go over introductions of the SIL office. We'll do an overview of SORT and what all of this program means and what is involved in it. We'll talk about support from student involvement and leadership and how we can assist you in your student organization. We'll talk about some status definitions and the perks of those, and then your next step in that checklist that is, going to help you complete the SORT program in a timely manner. So introductions, you should start on page 3 of your Engage form. So introductions, our office is made up of 6 professional staff, and we also have 2 graduate students with us at all times. So you may hear from our graduate students from time to time, or you may work with them to some capacity. So we're, a staff of 6 professionals and 2 graduate students. Eric Corbett is our director. He is the director for Student Union, Student Involvement and Leadership, and then Campus Rec. Debbie Lamp is the associate director for Student Involvement and Leadership. Gina Kucher is a program director for Fraternity Sorority Life and Leadership. Jeremy Keller is the program manager for Leadership. Myself, Courtney Laukitis, is the program manager to Student Organizations. So I oversee all student organizations, while Robin Johnson oversees student organization accounts. So anything revolving accounting, money, financials, anything that you see a dollar sign in your brain about your student organization, Robin Johnson will be the person to help you with that. Anything regarding events, transitions, officer trainings, any logistical piece of, your functioning student organization, that is something that I can assist you with. Okay, so the overview of SORT. SORT is a brand new program that I am bringing to campus and we are going to use from here on out. It stands for Student Organization Registration and Training. I know it's a very, very fancy acronym for this very fancy name. It literally was the first thing that popped in my head and I just kind of ran with it. So SORT is a brand for the registration and training process. So my goal is to say SORT so many times to you that whenever you hear it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know that I'm talking about the registration component and the training components for your student organization requirements within our office. The entire program is designed to provide an intentional process in completing your registration and your trainings. The trainings have been updated and have purposeful content to help you transition into your leadership roles or into all of the roles within your student organization, officer, roster, and all that good stuff. SORT is also focused specifically on student organizations obtaining active status. So there's this really cute equation that I like to use that is registration plus trainings equals active status. So that is our end goal. Is we want you to complete these requirements, learn a little bit about some information, go through the training process, work on, answering questions, doing activities, doing reflective questions, all that good stuff, and then obtain the active status and you're free to go for the academic year or for the semester. And then lastly, I do have a SORT email, so you probably have already received some information from me from sort@right.edu, or if you have a question specifically about your registration and training process, you are always welcome to reach out to me at sort@right.edu, SORT@right.edu. So that's just a quick overview of the SORT program to talk specifically about some support that comes from the Office of Student Involvement and Leadership. Student Involvement and Leadership provides things like leadership opportunities, accounting information, and fundraising assistance. We also can help you with conflict management, planning events, or any constitution revisions and support. The one thing that I want you to know is that it never hurts to ask for assistance, and it never hurts to ask your questions. It's always better to ask ahead of time or to say like, hey, before I submit this form, is this right? Did I complete all the requirements? I've never traveled before, but I have a question about traveling. I don't know how to fill out the deposit form that is available in the SIL office. How can I do that? Ask for assistance, ask your questions. We're here to help you. Reach out to any of us and we'll be happy to assist you there. Okay, so definitions and perks. So some of the new things that are happening is we are focusing on the statuses that are identified on the Engage platform. So active status means green light means go. You've completed all your requirements. You're good to go for the academic year. We don't have to worry about anything with trainings or registrations. All is well. Have a great semester and have a great year. The frozen status is a yellow light. So this means that you are missing one or more of the requirements. At this point, all student organization profiles on Engage are in the frozen status. So this is kind of like your holding period. This is my way to hold you accountable to having access to certain things that we'll talk about in a little bit. But just know that your frozen status just kind of gives you that yellow light of caution. Hey, pay attention. We need to go over some things. You're missing a requirement. You need to complete some forms, all that good stuff. Frozen status is not a terrible thing. I promise you, as soon as you complete all your requirements, you can go to active status. But the locked and inactive status, that would be something that's more of like a red light. So if I haven't heard from your organization in a while, I would assume that you're not an organization anymore. I'm working on building relationships with the advisors and contacting them and saying, hey, advisor X, this, following student organizations are under your name, you're identified as an advisor. Do you know if this is an organization? How can I help them? If you are in the locked or inactive status, you will have to meet with me prior to talk about the status and how you want to get out of it. Make a plan of action so that we know that you're, going to have the requirements. You're going to complete the registration form on time. You're going to work on, having recruitments and retention and all that good stuff, and just have that conversation with you there. So please be mindful of the statuses. As soon as you complete all the requirements, you'll go to active. While you're in the process of completing your requirements, you'll be frozen. And then after a while, if I haven't heard from you, you'll go to locked and then eventually inactive after 2 years of being locked. So the other thing that we have changed is the tiers. So this is not something that I want you to be worried about. It should not cause any confusion or panic, because I'm going to tell you exactly what tier you are. I have already told you in your emails what tier you are. Just be mindful that the tiers are identified based off of your requirements and what you have to complete, who you are on campus. So it kind of just gives us like an idea of, kind of like an avatar of who you are. And then it also deals with some of the funding that is available to SOBC and when you would submit your request and all that sort of stuff. So tier 1, one of the best ways to think of a tier 1 organization is someone like a Dean Student Advisory Board or a housing council. They typically, have a mission or purpose that is for a specific academic major, community, or group of students. You have access to request funding through SFC, but not SOBC. So funding only through SFC. You may hold small events, have a specific group on campus that you support, all that good stuff, have a small executive board. Tier 1, most of our smallest student organizations that we have on campus, but they function a little bit differently to support the group or support the community on campus that pertains to that organization. Tier 2 is 98% of our student organizations. So when you hear student organization and you think of someone like, I don't know, like the baking club, not that we have that, but, like Ability, 67 Society, who else Tabletop is somebody I always think about, Raider Pups, anybody like that. That would be like a tier 2. So their mission and purpose has a mission and purpose for many categories and interests on campus. They hold regular meetings and executive board meetings. They have the opportunity to receive funding from either SOBC or SFC as you see that fit. Holds low to medium risk level events and or fundraisers. You may hold some events. You may have some off-campus events. You may travel. You have a full executive board. You are required to have a constitution and bylaw, and you're also required to complete all of the SORT trainings. So that is categorized as our typical student organizations, our fraternity, sorority life organizations, and then our sports clubs as well. Additionally, our tier 3, which is known as our coordinating organizations, these are our biggest organizations on campus who oversee the largest communities on campus. Those include SGA, UAB, WWSU, The Guardian, RCA, BSU, LANA, Sport Club Council, all those big student organizations, they are tier 3 organizations. So they just have a little bit more accountability on campus. They have paid student leaders. They hold to medium to high level involvement with the organization and maybe their size. They serve and advocate for large communities on campus. Again, they are required to have a constitution and or bylaws, required to attend additional leadership programs and trainings like Take Flight, and then also required to complete registration in the specific trainings. So know that the tiers exist. It's not something that you'll see on Engage. It's something that I actually use on the back end to keep track of things on Engage. But if you hear us talk about tiers and say your student organization is a tier 2, it means, a little bit to you, but it's not as important as it is to us as the SIL staff. Okay, so some active status perks. So once you get to be active status, you have the ability to request event and meeting space on campus. You can apply for SOBC or SFC funding. You can apply for bulletin board display cases and storage lockers. You can market your events, which means that once your events are approved on Engage, you can market your events on for flyers, display cases, visual boards, all that good stuff. You will have your account established and can use your funding through the university. So that's with your student organization account. You can apply for leadership recognition awards later on in the spring semester. Apply for student organization email accounts. So if that's something that your organization is in need of, you can contact CATS about that. If you need further assistance or information, we're happy to help you with getting the email account or multiple accounts if that fits your organization needs. And then lastly, you also can participate in campus-wide events such as Fall Fest, April Craze, Do the U, anything that is, all-encompassing with all student organization participants. So there's some active status perks. If it's helpful to you for this question, to pause and kind of review the list and then, answer your question of what you're most excited for your active status perks, you can go ahead and do that now. Okay, so some goals. I know in your registration form, you've already filled out some goals, but I just want you to dive a little bit deeper into what you're looking for in your student organization. So setting goals is incredibly important to set. Thinking about your role in the position that you hold within your organization, what goals are you going to set? So I want you to pause the training for a little bit, think deep in your heart and in your mind about the leader that you want to be within this next year. We have all had a crazy 2020 into 2021, and I'm looking forward to a good 2022 or second half of 2021. But as a student organization, getting back in involvement, getting back in your recruitment and in your retention in your organization, what is one personal goal that you in your role wants to focus on? So as an example, I'm a recruitment chair of an organization and I want to recruit and retain 3 members by the end of the fall semester. Additionally, in the next box below, what is one goal as an organization that you would like to focus on this year as a unit of leaders? So an example of that would be, as the president of the organization, I will create a stronger line of communication between myself and the executive board by scheduling weekly meetings to discuss business and updates. So pause the video for a little bit, think deep. I'm telling you, these trainings, what you put into it is what you'll put out of it. I might hit you up later this semester and say, hey, how's your goal going? How's your personal goal? How's your organization goal going for you? This is your time to dive deep into identifying more of what you want to do as a leader within your organization. So take some time to do that right now. Okay. And then lastly, your next steps here. So again, the equation, registration plus trainings equals active status. So you need to do 2 things. You need to complete your registration, which I'm 99% sure you've already done because you're viewing this training in the first place. And then you need to complete your trainings. So in your email that I have sent you, it's a personalized email for your student organization. It identifies your organization name, the status that you currently hold, your registration when it was completed and approved on Engage, the tier that you are, and then the following trainings that are required based off of the positions that you submitted in your registration application. You are only required to have a president and a treasurer as officers within your student organization. Those positions must complete the trainings that are identified in your email. If you don't know what email I'm talking about, send me an email at sort@wright.edu and I can give you some further assistance and some information there. If you have positions like a vice president and a secretary, I highly, highly, highly recommend and encourage you to complete the trainings as the vice president and the secretary, just so that you know some of the information and the processes. There's nothing better than having the wealth of knowledge spread across the entire e-board. I totally believe that knowledge is power. And so just be mindful of those trainings. There are deadlines for each training. They are all provided to you in your email, also in the description box of this video presentation on our YouTube channel. You will be receiving progress reports from the SORT email throughout registration and open trainings, just to say like, hey, I saw that, you've completed all but this one training. Like, let's, get it going before we close out for this current open registration and training time. There is a training checklist available on Engage for you to download and save. I will also be sharing some of those resources on Engage through the news post. I may send them to you. I don't know if we necessarily need to laminate them yet, but if that's something that you want to do, you want to laminate the checklist, go for it. Have a great time with it. The trainings are topic specific, so some of the differences in the trainings from before, instead of one hour long training, you will complete a series of trainings that are about 20 to 30 minutes each. You'll do you'll answer some questions, reflective questions, and you'll maybe do an activity or two that is just to count as your participation for the training itself. And then while you're in those trainings, you will specifically focus on one topic at a time. So if you're taking the Managing Engage training, you're only focusing on Managing Engage. If your training is Intro to Leadership, which is for presidents and vice presidents, then you'll just be talking about leadership in and of itself. So it's a little bit more catered and a little bit more fun. Question and answer. There is a time that I provide during an in-person training to answer some questions. If you do have any questions, then you can post them in that box on the last page of your form. Whenever you submit your form for attendance, I will take that question and answer you in an email to provide some more information. The best way to get a hold of me regarding student organization registration and trainings is through the SORT email. Sorry, I just had a moment there. The SORT email, sort@right.edu. If you do want to email me from my personal email, courtney.laukitis@right.edu. And of course, you can always come into my WebEx meeting. So I hope this introduction was super helpful to you to provide some groundwork for what you're about to complete. I really appreciate your time and attention. Go ahead, and as long as all of your questions are completed, you can go ahead and submit your form on Engage. That will count for your attendance, and you'll have one of your trainings completed. So if you need anything, reach out. I'm here to help and assist in any way that I can. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.